Thanks for being here today. This is a very special day. As of recent months, we've looked at past cases in Albuquerque that have happened where we're trying to come up with a process and making sure we recognize officers who do good work. And there's a lot of good work done on a daily basis, more so than most people realize. And we found a lot of cases where some officers were left out of the loop for whatever reason. There's a lot of paperwork and processes in terms of nominations and committees. And we used to do this once a year, but we're going to be doing this more often. And so we went back and we found some very significant cases. And over the next few months, we're going to recognize officers that in the past have not been done so. When we first started, we did this for an officer, Lou Golson, who didn't get any awards for being shot in the line of duty and recovered and everything he did. We recognize that officer, so we're going to make that as a precedent from where we move from here on. So today, I'm going to first of all introduce our mayor, have him make a few open remarks, and then we'll honor these officers. There's a lot going on here today. We have a couple little separations because there's 3 different award ceremonies actually going on today. The media is welcome to interview the officers from the first group. Right after that, we'll give you guys a break in the hall. They're going to take some pictures, so you're welcome to meet them out there and talk to them and their families and the impact of that particular incident. But with no further ado, I'd like to introduce the mayor of Albuquerque, Mayor Keller.
Well, thank you, Chief, and everyone at APD. For me, really, I just want to welcome everyone, and I want to let folks know that, this is something, as the Chief mentioned, we're refining how our administration and how our department wants to deal with honoring those who have done some incredible things in our community. And so this is the first in which I think we're hopefully going to be doing much more of. But I want to highlight the fact that, we're often together because of tragedies that happen in our community. And in fact, that's often when I'm in this room or for graduation. And in those events, we always hear time and time again about our heroes. And we thank those who fight for our public safety, who stand up for our safety, who protect our community each and every day. But we don't always get to tell their story. And today is about honoring some of those specific acts, really putting a face to the name and really explaining and sharing with our community some of those absolutely incredible, heroic acts that have been done by good people in our department. That's what today is about. That's why I'm also honored to be here, and I want to thank the department for bringing us all together for this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Keller. So I'm going to talk about an incident that happened October 26, 2013. We're coming up on the 26th anniversary almost of this, and the reason we expedited to today's date is because 2 of the officers in this group are planning retirement in the next month or so, actually. So we want to make sure we got this in. There were some officers that are not here. I don't know today if they are. They were already recognized. These were the actual officers that were injured in that particular incident and received Purple Hearts. They won't be receiving awards today for that reason, but we do want to acknowledge their sacrifice as well. But on that day, our community experienced a grave threat to public safety as police officers were dispatched to a call of a man armed with an AK-47 assault rifle threatening to kill civilians and police officers. As officers arrived, the offender opened fire on the first responding officers, successfully pinning them down and then stealing a marked police vehicle. The offender then drove throughout the city during a 30-minute rampage as he targeted and fired upon numerous police officers, shooting these 4 officers that were, like I said, that received those awards previously. By the grace of God, all 4 officers recovered from their injuries and have previously received Purple Heart medals for their actions. This unprecedented threat to public safety was finally rendered safe by the heroic actions of numerous officers who stopped the offender's homicidal actions by mortally wounding him and thereby saving countless lives. Please take a moment. We're going to show a short video which was captured from our officers' on-body recording devices on the day of the incident. So give me a minute here. And Shania.
For the first time, we're seeing chilling first-hand accounts from the officers who responded to a shooting rampage last October.
KOAT Action Center has put on Velasquez viewed the lapel camera video. She joins us now with the dramatic footage. You attend.
Evan Shelley, Albuquerque police just released lapel video from 10 officers who responded that day. These are the ones who were on the front lines with Christopher Chase as he opened fire. Now, the video is very shaky because the cameras are worn on the officer's clothes, and much of the footage is too intense to air, but we do want to warn you, what we can show is pretty graphic.
523, shooting at my unit. I'm just south. I have some pedestrians out here. I'm going to try to get it back inside. Get inside!
Christopher Chase had just carjacked an Albuquerque police unit.
Looks like he's going to get into his unit right now.
He's ambushed that officer after having someone call 911 to report a man with a gun. Chase opens fire and hits Matt Hannum in the leg. He also shoots Officer Danny Morales in his patrol car and hits him in the leg. Moments later, Chase fires several shots through the driver's side door of Bernalillo County Deputy Robin Hopkins' unit, critically injuring her in the leg. An APD sergeant runs to her aid. At the same time, Chase is heading to 4th and Montano. The officer directly behind witnessed Chase move Deputy Hopkins, and he fires through his windshield at the suspect. Speeds are between 45 and 50 miles per hour through the North Valley. Chase turns into a gas station where several officers continue to try to stop him. Chase dies at the scene, but not before turning a quiet Saturday afternoon into a living nightmare for officers and the community. Deputy Robin Hopkins spent a month at UNM Hospital. She is now in rehab.
All 3 police officers have recovered, although some of them still need surgeries. Investigators have not found a motive for Chase's rampage.
I'm sure that was very emotional for the families and the officers involved in that incident that day. And you can see why we're honored that. So what we're going to do today is there's a series of special awards that we have. These are the highest distinctions that we give officers in our department. The highest one is called the Medal of Valor. And again, I apologize to the officers who have waited patiently for many years now to receive this award. I know in some cases there was a lesser distinction award given for this, but I think Officer Dan Calt, what he did that day was amazing. We don't have the full video. There actually is a documentary. I would recommend that you see that. It's a little longer that they did. Shows actually what each of these officers did. You heard the sergeant's voice. He's here today. He's going to receive it. I heard one of the female officers. She's here as well. I'm sure that those were things that will always be etched in your memories from that day. So to that end, it's my honor to recognize the following officers, starting with Officer Dan Calt. Dan, if you can come step up. So let me read a little bit about you. Thank you for standing ovation. Officer Dan Calt responded from the Northeast Area Command that day to assist officers who were actively involved or engaged in a gunfight. Upon arrival in that area, Officer Calt located the offender's vehicle and then engaged in a pursuit with the offender. Officer Calt relentlessly pursued the offender's vehicle by exchanging gunfire with him. Officer Calt was forced to drive with one hand while firing his AR-15 through his own front windshield with the other hand. Officer Calt's pursuit of the offender only ended when the offender was mortally wounded. Officer Calt's heroic actions were taken at great risk to his own life and likely saved countless lives during this unprecedented threat to public safety. It is for these reasons that it's my honor to present Officer Dan Calt with this Medal of Honor or Valor. Next, I'd like to honor Sergeant Sean Lockey. Sean is due to retire soon, so this will be a great exit plan, right? So, Sergeant Sean Lockey took control of this rapidly evolving situation from the very onset by demonstrating exemplary leadership and command. Sergeant Lockey relentlessly pursued the offender vehicle while still having the presence of mind to coordinate and direct dozens of responding units. Recognizing the imminent threat to public safety, Sergeant Lockey gave the clarifying commands authorizing the use of deadly force. Sergeant Lockey was only forced to leave the pursuit when BCSO Deputy Robin Hopkins was shot by the offender, and you saw some of that on the footage of this video. Sergeant Lockey then rendered first aid to Deputy Hopkins, which likely was a factor in saving her life. Sergeant Lockey's heroic actions were taken at great risk to his own life and likely saved countless lives during this unprecedented threat to public safety. It is for these reasons that it is my honor to present Sergeant Sean Lockey with the Medal of Meritorious Service. Officer Simon Drobit, front and center. There's a familiar face, right? Officer Simon Drobit also responded from the Northeast Area Command that day to assist officers who were actively engaged in a gunfight. Upon arrival into the area, Officer Drobik located the offender's vehicle and engaged himself in the pursuit. For most of the vehicle pursuit, Officer Drobik was the second vehicle behind Officer Dan Calt, to include the moment that the offender's vehicle drove through the gas station and crashed into the pumps. Officer Drobik then exited his vehicle, and upon seeing the offender attempt to manipulate his assault rifle, Officer Drobik began to engage the offender with gunfire to stop his homicidal actions. Officer Drobik's heroic actions were taken at great risk to his own life and likely saved countless lives during this unprecedented threat to public safety. It is for these reasons that it is my honor to present Officer Simon Drobik with the Medal of Meritorious Service. Officer Sharon Saavedra. I think we saw her in the video as well. So, Officer Sharon Saavedra responded to the area due to calls for assistance by officers who were actively engaged in a gunfight. During the incident, the offender drove north on Broadway and encountered Officer Saavedra and her recruit officer as they took cover behind a patrol vehicle. The offender fired at both officers, striking their vehicle and flattening one of their car tires. Officer Saavedra then immediately returned gunfire in an attempt to stop the offender's actions. Officer Saavedra's actions were taken at great risk to her own life and likely saved countless lives during this unprecedented threat to public safety. It is for these reasons that it is my honor to Officer Sharon Saavedra with the Courage Under Fire ribbon. Thank you. Officer James Burton. Officer James Burton responded to the area due to calls for assistance by officers who were actively engaged in a gunfight. In the area of Solar Road and 4th Street, the offender encountered Officer Burton and his partner as they were positioned behind their patrol vehicle. The offender opened fire on their position, causing them to duck for cover. Officer Burton then immediately returned gunfire in an attempt to stop the offender's actions. Officer Burton's heroic actions were taken at great risk to his own life and likely saved countless lives during this unprecedented threat to public safety. It is for these reasons that it is my honor to present Officer James Burton with the Courage Under Fire Ribbon. There's two other officers that were involved in that incident that day. Steve Lowe, Sergeant Steve Lowe, now Sergeant Steve Lowe, and Sergeant Luke McPeak. They're both gone, but we'll get them on our next meeting, but they should be honored. They were part of those officers that were at that incident. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give the media an opportunity to, if they want to talk to those officers, they're getting their pictures taken, they'll be available in the hallways. And then we're going to set up for another award session with the U.S. Postal Inspection. So if you want to take a break or... Okay, if the media can coordinate that with Gilbert in the hallway, that'll take care of that. So give us just a few minutes while we coordinate that.